every number has a meaning and a purpose. And especially when you look at the numbers that repeat themselves and the cycles that repeat themselves, like 1 to 7 or 1 to 9 or 1 to 12 or 1 to 24, you know, you can always have a meaning to the number. And when you become so in tune with it kind of like now starts looking like magic. I realized 12. So 12 is the number of completion also, because, you know, there are 12 months in the year, the clock 12, you know.
Okay.
You start a new cycle. And also 12, you've already gone through 12 hours, 6 hours of a day, 6 a.m. essentially, to 7, that's the first hour. You've already gone through 6 hours in the day. So now you're getting to the point where now the sun is taking away from you. It's not giving you now, it's taking away from you. So it's now pruning things out of your life that no longer serve you. So every hour now from 12 till 6, and then 6 you rest.
Thank you for giving us these insights on the language of numerology and the universe, so to say. Welcome back for another episode of the After Hours in partnership with Tanqueray. Today we are at the lovely Art Cafe Gastrobar, the prime location that we have also been having most of our episodes in. I am having a Negroni with the Tanqueray Sevilla. What are you having? Do you know what you're having?
A Collins.
You are having a Gastro Collins.
Yes.
And the base of this drink is the Tanqueray Royale. So guys, make sure the Tanqueray is at the forefront of your fun times as you get into the course of the year. Make sure that you're also drinking responsibly. As you can see, we have our glasses of water here. As you're having a good time, remember to drink responsibly. Let's cheers the water too.
Yes.
With that out of the way, let's get into the conversation. I will first ask you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay. How do I introduce myself? I always say I'm versatile and capable.
We want to hear the versatility.
Yes. So I go by Angela Koki, in my 30s now, and I work in finance, in investments, in a lot of literacy, education. I try new things. So my work primarily focuses on ecosystem building for startups, giving a lot of due diligence, and just creating a lot of teachable moments, you know, in whatever capacity that I am offering consulting or advisory related work. Yes.
Okay. That is a good introduction. I don't know why you were scared to do that intro.
No, you know, I try to keep it short and cute.
Short and cute, but we're here to hear all about that story.
Yes.
What's your story? I know you and you had previously communicated, you had mentioned that your story is somewhat unconventional.
Yes.
So you can let us know where your story begins.
You know, your podcast is called The Tech Story, and I think when we talked the first time, I was thinking, am I really a techie?
Yeah.
But then, I am, because so my background for school is financial engineering. I like to say that I conceptualize how to build products, essentially, by ideating how that new innovation can come about. So I started my career in government, essentially, building a lot of the government portals. It's called what? IFMIS. Yes. So I started there, and then I moved into the other government parastatal related kind of work, which was poster and showground. I learned a lot of skills when I was in university, because that's the time I was like, I don't want to just sit around at home doing nothing, so let me do something. So that gave me a good foundation in terms of learning the what we like to call soft skills, but they're kind of hard, you know?
Yeah.
And that built, for me, a very good foundation, so that by the time I was finishing university, it was very easy for me to get into the harder stuff, like investments. When I left investments, I was doing a lot of research, sell-side related investment work. And then that
what does that mean?
So sell-side is where you do a lot of the research to enable insights and analytics in investment decision making. You come into the side of the industry where you provide that additional support on knowledge, where you're like, can you invest in this or not? What is are we reading from the market in terms of certain portfolios, certain money market funds? So when you do those analytics on the fixed income equities,
Yes.
private equity, that's sell-side research essentially in investments. And then that translated to audit. I got into audit from the point of view of wanting to be a very well-rounded professional.
Yes.
I kind of like clicked for me like a light bulb moment. I was like, let me build my career where I can be able to know all these things from a point of me, so that if I'm a leader in a financial industry, then I don't have to always ask someone, what does this mean? What does this mean? So going into audit was for me to flesh out myself as a well-rounded finance profession. I got into accounting. I really wanted to go deep into understanding the reporting side of things. And my portfolio ended up being a lot with investments, with agriculture, because I grew up in an agriculture background in Kakuzi. It's a listed company for agriculture in NSC. So that gave me a lot of push in that direction of agriculture, investments, banking, insurance, and telecommunications. So I ended up managing a lot of that portfolio. And it only felt right that when I transitioned from audit, I got into the agricultural space, the startup space. And that gave me a lot of insight on supply chains and product building. And then it opened up a new passion for mine, which was how to get into code and embedded finance.
Yeah. Sorry. So what you're saying is your introduction to essentially technology and the startup space was the agriculture work that you were
Yes,
doing.
the agriculture background for me, because I had already been building a lot of those, the audit part of it, the assurance, the giving assurance to listed companies like Kakuzi, Kapchorwa Tea, Williamson Tea. So it was very easy for me to translate my knowledge into something very, it's like abstract design.
Yes.
You know one thing, but you can translate it to very many different things.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I like growing. I always say I like to feel that I am actually making an impact that matters. And I'm a very ethical person in how I run finance in general. I like to say that if you can actually prove with your track record that you're someone who's dependable and trustworthy, especially when it comes to money and in the climate we live in this country, you have to build that, because we are in a place in time where you just can't believe someone telling you that I can actually do this. Let your work do the talking. Yeah. So that led me to also grow. I took a career break. I decided to build a foundation of being a mom, because I knew how intense my career is and I know how much I give into the work that I do. So I wanted to grow in a way where even if I come back to my career full force, it's not going to be overwhelming for me, because I didn't drop one ball, a very important ball, which is motherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I want to just get to know more about that journey when you were, I'm assuming top of your game, learning about finance and, audit and all these things that predominantly male spaces.
Yeah.
But more so, I think my question is how you were able to, what are some of the challenges rather that you went through during those times, or was this just something that was extremely interesting for you? You talked about being ethical. Was there scenarios where you were trying to be pushed to do something unethical, and how you were able to stand your ground? So just trying to get our audience to understand some expectations to have if you are going to enter that space.
Yeah. When people make those difficult decisions, the ones we call the road less traveled, it's like a muscle. You build it as you go. I've never shied away from saying that I will always walk away from anything that's no longer serving me or growing me or making me happy. And I think that's something I've carried through in how my culture, my individual personal culture. And I like to remove myself from situations. I have done CFA level 1. I'm hoping I will pass level 2 this year.
Fingers crossed.
But yes, fingers crossed. Not hoping, I know.
You know.
Yeah, we live in the year of knowing. Yeah. So there's something we learn in ethics in CFA. And they always say that when you find yourself in a situation that is a conundrum in terms of what is the right thing to do in this situation from a financial, ethical, professional point of view. And it's very clear, the first action is to dissociate. So I'm very big on dissociating when I am caught in a situation where I'm feeling like this is going to affect my personal track record of being someone who means what they say and says what they mean. So I find myself, because I've built that muscle, it was easy to walk away in the name of, one, something is not serving me. Two, I feel like I have hit a roadblock in terms of growth. And then if a situation is not serving me and what I want to do for my life, for me, the money is not always the first option in terms of a situation. It's more of how are you feeding your soul? How are you growing as a person? And are you actually even making an impact?
Yes.
So when it comes to like my tech story of even how I came to take a career break, it wasn't more intentional. It ended up being something that I warmed myself up to. I found myself having to quit a job out of, internal disagreement with how the company should be run, essentially. And for me, those are not situations where I don't like having, I would say, corporate wrangles or corporate politics. You have to play the game, right? And for me, I always like to play the game from a point of honesty, from a point of clarity, from just being objective. So when I feel like my say is not heard, for me, it's usually a no-brainer,
Yeah.
And then when you find yourself now,
Misalignment.
you have to make that road less traveled, difficult decision. Of course, it's difficult because we live in a country that doesn't support individuals' career growth. It doesn't support entrepreneurship. The economies of scale just don't work, essentially. So you're also making a decision to be like, are you brave enough to take this risk? It's always, that is the biggest question. Are you brave enough to take this risk? But sometimes at the other side of fear, is something you could not have expected.
Yes.
For me, what I gained out of the challenges and the obstacles was getting to know myself better, understanding what my priorities are. I got time to do something I really love, which is learn and study, because I love learning and study. And then I got to allow myself to be in a state of mindlessness so that I can tap into the ultimate mindfulness, where I'm looking at what do I actually want to do. So that drove me into venture capital. And again, I love reading, I love studying. I read every day. So it was easy for me to bundle up intentional parenting with a personal goal pursuit, which was what do I actually want to do in terms of clarity. And I got that clarity. The challenges I went through made me realize that I want to support other women so that they can feel brave to do what I do, because I don't consider what I do brave. It's just respecting and loving myself enough to always choose what's best for me. And regardless of what that looks to someone else, I think that's something we need to train ourselves, even just as individuals, as a country, just to, how can I always think about the next best thing? If you don't know, just do the next best thing.
Yeah.
Just do the next best thing.
I really like the gems that you've dropped in that.
Gems, I love it.
You've dropped gems of someone who I would understand and validate that 100% would come from someone who's an average reader, and also someone who seems passionate about what they do and also very principled. And I, just to sidetrack and bring something up from my experience, I think I quit my job in December because
you told me you've done this for like a year.
Yes, I've done this for like a year.
Go
but
you.
I did leave working in fintech in December 2024. Yay! Surprisingly, getting a lot more congratulations than oh my gosh, what are you gonna do?
No,
which means I'm meeting the right
you should get
people.
congratulations. In fact, I always say the way we celebrate baby showers, we should also celebrate these career milestones. And a career milestone doesn't have to be the quintessential positive milestone of getting a new job. Sometimes it can be taking a step back so that you can take several
what is
forward.
familiar.
Yes. So that you can put yourself in a position to grow by challenging yourself.
Exactly.
So I think you've done a great job.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping to do the best. No, I know this is one of the years.
You should start saying I know from today.
Yeah.
You should use the word I know like 10 times a day.
I know.
I
know this is going to be successful.
Yes.
But more so, just also what my core principles I think that I currently want to live by is living a life of purpose.
A purposeful life.
And in all aspects. And I think now when it came to my job at that time, I felt my purpose was already fulfilled in a lot of ways, or just I was no longer serving what was feeling like I was making an impact. Purpose and impact, I think I would put them together.
Yeah.
So I think leaving was me saying that, look, internally I know my personal goal is to make an impact, and to not only make an impact in one organization, but in multiple ways. And just, I think,
when you hit that ceiling, I always say, you'll always know. It's like give and take. It's like give and take, and give and take happens everywhere. In this conversation, you're doing give and take. When you're in a relationship, you're giving and taking. Yes. When you're in a position where you are supervising someone, you're giving and taking, even in career. And I always say you should do as much giving as you're taking. And when you do more giving than you're taking, you will always know from that voice inside your head, And it's also in yourself as well. The giving and taking is also with yourself. How much are you taking from yourself? How much are you giving yourself? The moment you have that clarity, you will always balance that thing out. And then you'll feel, I think I've taken enough of what I need to take from this experience. Then now I need to give to something
That's
else.
A nice analogy to use, the giving and taking, including with yourself. I want to take you back to the conversation of VC. I mean, you said that you took a career break, and then that's the time you found yourself in VC. Could you just walk us through how that ended up happening? Because I know that people who fear taking a career break, because like, where do you start all over again? People are scared of being asked for the gaps in their CVs. So just, how was the career break, and how did you get back into VC?
I think that fear comes with also with the way we've been conditioned to always have a perfectly laid out resume, a resume that has no gaps, where you can explain every little moment of your time in how you've given it to capitalism, And I'm like, sometimes your time doesn't need to go to capitalism. Sometimes it needs to go to something else that's gonna nurture you, So I know, even as I was going into it, I went into it with that feeling of, I work in finance, I have some savings here, I have some investments here, I'm gonna be fine, I'm not gonna take so long to figure this thing out, But then you find yourself in situations where, and funny sidebar, I had told all my friends that I was taking not a career break, a social media break. I have this thing where every year I sacrifice something, and I had been on the third year of sacrificing social media. So I was telling my friends, you guys, I'm gonna be offline and everything. And then I found myself making this difficult decision of, a career break. And when that happened, you tell yourself that you are a privileged person in so many ways, even unprivileged as well, but you look at the gratefulness of it and you're like, things will work out.
Yes.
But some things you can only experience them. You can't read them in books, and I am a reader. You cannot read certain things. You have to live them and experience them. And the way the economy has deteriorated as well. I also found myself having to live with these real life challenges of financial distress, of not being supported, being a woman who is raising a child on her own, and having to manage your career from the political angle of it all. All those are challenges you'll face as you're going through this journey. But I think because I have never been someone who advertises what I do, I just like to I always say excellence doesn't shout. It just lets its excellence do the talking.
Yes.
So I did that thing of telling myself I don't like bragging about what I do, because I think my work should speak for itself. It's excellent. They were telling you I'm an excellentist. But then it got to a point where I'm like, okay, now I need to put myself out there. Closed mouths don't get fed. And I think this basketballer, he said, you miss all the shots you don't take. So now I started putting myself out there. And that meant that I needed to also, what education gaps do I have to go into this thing I want to do?
Absolutely.
Then you sit down and you evaluate your ikigai, but you evaluate it from a point of, what do I need to embody this ikigai I'm dreaming about?
Yes.
So now I started with education first, because I've always been clear education is the key.
Could you
and I did a program.
Education?
I did a program for venture capital. It's just lucky, the way you see things and then you try out, and then kujituma, as we say in Kenya. And it opened my eyes to, I think I have a lot of knowledge, but not give me some specialized knowledge that I could tap into. But in this period of me getting into this venture capital, I had been doing consulting work in the name of, telling people what I do. Someone asks me or they send someone my way, and I tell them my passion is in due diligence, in building ecosystems, in removing the cracks, and just symbiosis in life. Life will always meet you where you're at, and the universe is fair. You give it effort, it will give you effort back. So the venture capital and the consulting work I was doing started leaning more into startups. And because of the venture capital fellowship that I did, I got a light bulb. I'm like, I can actually now take this corporate knowledge that I have and put it into building the startup innovation ecosystem, which right now is its in infancy stage. It's where the US market was in 1970. So we can now look at it from a point of how do I contribute to building something the way I want to see it, because I have the knowledge of how it should be, you know, and that gave me that foundation. So I started working with this lady. She's called Dami. Bless her soul. Hi, Dami, if you're watching this. Bless her soul. And she's been a very great mentor in how to package what I do from a service offering point of view, that I am actually offering this assurance of I want you to be able to trust the investments you make, trust that you are making this impact that matters, and there's actually growth. There's internal rate of return for everyone involved, because the investor is going to think about the bottom line number. What's my percentage return? But you as the founder, you as the person who's building this innovation, your OKRs are very different. So now when you think about objective key results, girl,
yes,
it's like the way people say, what are we going to call them? KPIs. Yes. I find KPIs a little bit, they need to get ahead of their time. Because when you look at it from a point of OKR, then you don't think about yourself only. You think about everyone in this picture as a stakeholder. My OKR is not going to be someone's OKR. And the more I leaned into these challenges I'm seeing, and founders are talking to me and telling me the problems they're going through, and also my own experience, I was like, now I can teach, now I want to teach, because it helps that I can show people how to fish instead of giving them the fish, essentially. So that has now grown into, I actually now teach the founders themselves. I get them investor ready, and it just ballooning into, for me, my passion keeps unlocking itself, that I want to teach as much as possible. So this resume of having blocks, I like to tell people, just allow yourself to create teachable moments in your resume, so that you're not thinking about this as, I have worked A, B, C, D. What is your relational resume? The one that gives you did, and this is what you got from this experience, and this is the skill you got. It's way more important.
And just to relate to what you're saying, I was listening to a podcast, Jay Shetty's podcast this morning. Jay Shetty. And I was listening to an episode where Big Sean was the guest, and he was talking about reading books, and I think this principle can lie in many contexts. He was talking about reading a book doesn't take away time, it actually gives you time. And the same thing, like putting in the work for you to eventually have a compounding effect is not taking away time for you doing that learning process. If anything, it's giving you more time that you are probably gonna waste in trying to
it's the best investment people, I ever made.
Lose money, so I think what you're saying is correct. You did make a career break, and you've justified the good reason as to why it made sense for you. And I think everybody, if you feel you're at that point where you
especially
need to take time
for mothers, I think maybe I want to add this, especially for mothers, I just want to add this note that there's this essence we're always being given, that you can have it all. Yes, you can have it all, just not all at once. And giving yourself that grace that you don't have to have it all at once is what I allowed myself, because I am an overachiever, I'm a go-getter. I don't even believe in I just go with one angle. I don't believe in all my eggs in one basket. And in this break, I got a certain lesson that was the most invaluable one, which was the same way I allocate time for my passions, I should also allocate time for my joy. And my joy can be in motherhood, which I know even as I'm saying this, people will be like, what? But it's something I've learned in motherhood, that you can learn and unlearn in this thing, something that is going to make you, and what I feel I have grown is that I am a much better professional because I took the break, not despite of it. Yeah.
Exactly, wasn't taking away time.
Yeah, it wasn't in spite of it, it was because. Yeah.
No, I like that realization, and I think from
Yeah.
others out there, there's always a pressure of or a dissonance that comes into your mind when you start.
Dissonance
I
is
think
the
that's
word.
the best word, because you, especially if you've always been a career-driven person, and then
Yeah.
you know the amount of time you actually do need to dedicate to motherhood, especially in the foundational years, you sort of have a dissonance of, I still want to keep doing this, but how can I be a good
Yeah, and you
mom?
know, after 7 years, the environment for a child, essentially, is a book I read. It's called Why We Love. It's by a Nobel Prize winner. She's a PhD researcher at Oxford. And she was saying that the first 7 years of a child's life are the ones that are most monumental. Whoever you are right now was shaped in those first 7 years. So because I have that knowledge, I was like, I can implement it in my life.
Yes.
And then now when I go back to my career, I will not feel like I lost anything because I built what I needed to build at the time I needed to build it. And
Yeah.
it didn't take away, you're not late, you're just on time.
Yeah, appreciate the different seasons that you go through as an individual,
Yes.
because there's a time where maybe career is your primary focus and that's what it is. There's a time maybe you go through happy moments or sad moments like loss, and that is something that you need to also deal with. So appreciating
always
and
rushing,
going
always
through,
rushing.
always rushing, and
We never take time to just slow down or give ourselves time to grieve, or even come to terms with a life-changing event in your life, like motherhood. Like maybe you had an accident, maybe you become a widow or a widower, like even job loss in and of itself. And sometimes you can go through all those things at once. We never give ourselves an allowance to just exhale. And a lot of the time we don't, because we don't have the privilege to.
Exactly. I was going to bring up that conversation.
Yeah, we don't have the privilege
as people
to.
who, sorry to cut you short, in the startup environment, I think the culture that is preached to us is having to be fast-paced so that you're able to beat the competition, or just things are always fast-moving. You're trying to build a product, you're still trying to understand the business model. And so taking a break for a lot of founders seems almost a distant mirage, and so
it's like a luxury that is unaffordable.
yes.
And
So how do we
luxury.
find that balance?
So one of the things for me is to allow yourself stillness. I'm a person who's very jumpy. I'm angsty. I don't know how to sit still. That's the word. But I learned something that came to me as a head, When I left Deloitte, one of the primary reasons I left was because of my mental health. And it's because it had happened that I had actually had a suicide attempt when I was in Deloitte. And I never gave myself time to process what had happened. I came back into work, my doctor had been like, you're taking time off. Like, I'm forcing you to take time off. Like, I'm writing a letter. I'm writing a letter to your bosses. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I was like, please don't do this to me, because I'm thinking about what it will do to my career. And when I came back, I was in this state of catching up. Let me just catch up. Let me do my best. And I think I drove myself mad catching up. And I did. I think I like I said, I like doing my best in something.
You're not a perfectionist, you're an
Yes, I'm an
excellentist.
excellentist. I love it. It's beautiful. And it made me push myself to the limit where, in fact, when the year was ending, I was actually awarded the Impact Maker Award for Deloitte. But it got to the point where I told myself, I continue like this, I will die. I need to give myself an allowance. So I left the job out of my personal sanity, which I never acknowledged to people, because also it made me very retreated. It removed me from social media. It made me feel like shame. We never let ourselves face the reality of our experiences publicly, because we're like, I have to protect this image of this person who is well put together. And because I never took a break, when I ended up taking a break, I had to reckon and sit with everything that I had not had given myself time to
Time to
process.
process.
And that's something I think we should factor into building companies, into building anything we're building. Factor in time for stillness. Create a space where, even if it's 2-3 days, even if you cannot travel, go somewhere where you're in a field and sit down and just do nothing. And that came from doing meditation. I advocate for meditation a lot.
Yes.
Because even if you cannot go to a holiday somewhere, that's privilege. Create the stillness. Create a sense of stillness so that you can be able to sit with whatever it is that you think is a problem.
Yeah.
Because if you avoid it with alcohol, with overworking, with I'm so busy, you're not that busy.
Yeah.
You're not
you
that
can
busy.
you can have a bit of time to do
Yeah, you
this.
can have a bit of time to have stillness so that there can be mindfulness in how you are actually moving forward. Because you can't be a good founder if you're not a good friend to yourself. You can't be a good founder if you're not a good friend to others. You can't be a good founder, a good innovator, creator, entrepreneur if you are not allowing yourself that space to humanize yourself before you humanize other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's how I navigate it mostly, meditation and stillness.
Meditation and stillness,
Yeah,
to be able to
stillness.
find that good balance of everything.
Yeah, you ask yourself questions.
Yeah, which is good. I think you've said some really key points there.
Yeah.
I want to take you back now to when you're in VC and
Yeah.
now what that means
What I do
to
now.
where you are now. Really.
Yes. For the last 1 year plus, I've been doing a lot of due diligence related work. I like to say I'm building the big four for startups, where sometimes it's hard to explain what is this risk intelligence solutions. You know, I can say I do risk intelligence solutions for venture capital investment. Sounds like a mouthful, right?
Sounds like a mouthful, but you can give us context.
So in terms of context, I just like to simplify it and say I'm building the big four for startups. But in essence, it is this structured, governed, policy-built ecosystem that we have for corporate that also has its flaws, you know? Why can't we use the best of the corporate world to build the startup world? So I offer services like due diligence, which is just pre and post-investment support. And that due diligence can come in so many ways. You know, a lot of people just look at the financial and the legal.
Yes.
But when we deal with a lot of cases where people are stealing money, there's fraud, there is lack of accountability. Then now I come in and do extra layers of due diligence, you know, like how is your business structured? How is your reputation as a founder, online, offline, you know? How do I look at your product? What is your product due diligence? Do you even have a product? Is this product even monetizable? Is what you're telling your investors that you are doing, is it what you're actually doing? And because a lot of people are focusing on the building, they're not focusing on the ecosystem and then laying
Yes.
the right foundation.
Yes.
So I say, let me do that job. Let me take up this big challenge of building the ecosystem from showing people like, your financials don't have IFRS. Why? They don't have international financial reporting standards. And if you build the ecosystem from that point of view, the due diligence creates a system where the trust keeps creating multiplier effects. And when I build a society and a community where everyone who has gotten this clean bill of health.
Yes.
You know the way in audit we give opinions when we do audit.
Yes.
You can get a qualified opinion, you can get an unqualified opinion.
Yes.
So I'm trying to bring that aspect where we reduce the due diligence process because people already have these checks and balances done by someone who is trusted in the industry to actually do these checks and balances
Yes.
without thinking of how they can benefit in this situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So due diligence comes with fraud, it comes with assurance, it comes with, I come and I assess your business and I'm like, you need business optimization, you know, business process optimization.
Yes. Of course.
You need a sustainability plan for your business. I have a problem with your financial model.
Yeah.
This crystal ball is looking hazy.
Yeah.
I can't see the future.
Yeah.
You know, then that helps me iterate the solutions I give. So as I'm iterating them, the key thing here has been education and literacy, the
Yeah.
financial knowledge, which I'm always fighting. I'm like, we always offer technical support, but we never offer financial support. And the financial support is not I'm giving you money. I'm giving you knowledge that can translate to wisdom so that you can be able to be in the best placed position to make strategic decisions for your business.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's going well so far in terms of
seeing
the
what's
need.
The name of the organization, or are you just doing it as you are an individual?
So with startups specifically, I'm doing it through Diligence Africa.
Okay.
We had a really great year last year. I've been doing it for a year now and some months.
Yes.
And when I was making our end year report, I realized I had a lot of impact. Because I covered like 2 continents. I did a lot of due diligence, like 80 plus due diligence reports. I trained over 100 plus founders on due diligence and investor readiness, essentially. So I can see that there's a need, and the founders want to be equipped to be able to handle the pre-investment part of the business and the post-investment, but then they also want the other foundational things to work. Yeah. It's not just about getting the money. Sometimes I'm like, do you go for therapy? Because are you ready to handle getting a check of $100,000? Do you have the mental capacity to handle being given a check for $1 million? Because if you don't,
you're gonna mess up.
Shit is gonna hit the fan. Yeah. It's gonna hit the fan one or another, and then you're going to be blacklisted in some list over there in China for defaulters.
Yeah, literally. People don't do enough due diligence, especially in the startup space. Okay, so we'll try this, we'll do that.
There's a lot of faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
That feeling of, let me write your name in my prospectus. Let me say, even if we just had one conversation, and I never promised to give you money, let me write you in my prospectus, because this means that someone is going to see your name there and it will give me clout.
Yes.
And I'm like, can we stop with the bullshit?
And I think that's not, as we almost wrap up this episode, the difference maybe that founders have, or what the in-between is, because there's that honesty that obviously is very important for you to do, especially with your investors, with anyone involved in the organization. But there's also a pressure to almost be dishonest or to exaggerate some of the data points so that you're able to get the investors that you need to make investments that you're looking for, or people to believe in your vision more.
Yeah.
Almost like the people say you fake it till you make it, and for some people it works and for some people it doesn't. So what's the in between? I need to make sure that this product is still at the forefront of people's minds, that it's going to scale, but at the same time not lie to an extent that the trust is lost between the people who are involved and whatnot. I do understand the pressure that people do feel to lie about, to exaggerate their numbers, and so what's the in between? Sometimes I can build a good product and I'm struggling.
There is an in between, definitely. There is. Once someone asked me this question on one of the investment readiness trainings that I was giving. They asked how do I show that I have value proposition? Because that's the point. What is your value proposition? And you have to come with honesty around that value proposition. And I always say, don't be desperate, number one. Don't be desperate, And the desperation comes from feeling like, if I don't get this one, I will lose everything. And I'm always like, what is yours will find you.
Mentality of not,
the mentality,
of scarcity.
Abundance mentality. Yeah. We are in the year of abundance. So thinking around that abundance mindset is very important. And then you can't just think about it and just sit,
3 steps. Thinking, planning, executing.
God blesses those who helps those who help themselves, And I always say that you should try and create a business where you have one of the 4 M's. And I'm forgetting the last M, but I have the first 3. I'm going to remember it. And I hope maybe someone in the comments can be like, that's the first M, right? Yeah. But I always say, once you have one of these 4 M's, you can't go wrong. The money will come to you. They will find you. They will give you a seat at the table. They will hear you out because you came with the value proposition. You did not come and say, please fund my idea. It is just like this. You just tell them you have one of the 4. And the 4 is, you either have momentum, you have something that is going somewhere. You can map it out, even if it's an MVP or it's a real product that has already gotten traction. Show us what that momentum looks like now, in the future, near term, short term, long term. The other M you should have is management. You're only as good as your weakest link. So if you have a management that is not actually serving the needs of this business, then it's not going to work essentially. Then the other one is market. You know, you can say you can build whatever you want to build, but if there is no sustainability and you haven't checked whether do you have that 2/3 in terms of someone would be willing to pay for this, then you're not looking at it from an economies of scale, from a return perspective. Yeah. This other fourth M, I think it's money, but it's not money. It can't be money. The money is the one that comes, the fifth M, you know? So I'll remember it and then I'll let you know. But
let us know in the comments if you have any of the M's that we are missing out in this conversation.
Yes, I'll probably write it down somewhere in the comments.
We can add it in case you have it. It's probably on the screen right now.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And I think you're given a lot of insights on things that people need to look out for, especially when it comes to financial management. It being okay for you to take a career break if you need one, because life is more than just what your career has to offer, and so much more on the journey for
the word I told you. Remember the word I told you?
What did you tell me?
When I was telling you, we're not here to work, we're here to humanifest.
We're here to humanifest, exactly.
The work is the icing on the cake.
You have I
have my own dictionary.
You have your own dictionary, and we appreciate it. We need more people to come up. We need this in the real dictionary.
The dictionary of greatness and abundance.
Love that. I think before we close off this episode, I'm just going to ask you one last thing. What do you want to leave our viewers with, or our listeners who are listening?
Honestly, the most simple thing that kind of like ties to everything that I've said is that where energy goes, grows. You can think about this statement in any way you want. It doesn't have to be actually career, tech, whatever.
Yeah.
Where you take your energy, that is the thing you're giving attention to. That's the thing you're giving growth to. And for me, I'm like, as a producer, and we need to think of ourselves in Africa as producers. We need to remove ourselves from that mentality of consumers. We are producers in essence. It is our birthright. And always say where energy goes, grows. So if I give energy to the things that are no longer serving me, growing me, or making me happy, then I'm complicit in my own lack of abundance, essentially, So if you give your energy to reading 1 page a day, that energy will grow into 10 pages a day. If you give your energy into learning one new thing, just a little, you will get somewhere. If you give your energy to the right kind of friendships, you will build a community that is, it has the 3 unfair advantages, which is leverage and accountability and what did you call it? Like unique skill. Yeah. So if you have those 3 things, you can build your unique skills, you can build your unfair advantage.
Yes.
And then that gives you leverage, and then the rest is magic.
The rest is magic.
The rest is magic.
Thank you for closing off the episode with that powerful message. If you've enjoyed this episode, this is your time to subscribe if you haven't already, or check out our socials at Tanqueray Africa from wherever you're listening from. Remember that we are at Cafe Gastrobar, and we have been having some lovely drinks, and Negroni, and she is having a Gastro Collins.
Really great.
This has been a great conversation. We should keep the conversation going, but we will when the cameras are off.
And we will online
exactly.
as well,
Of course. We have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, maybe if anyone has any questions to ask me personally, because
give us where they can
I like
reach out
saying
to
I'm
you.
the wakili, a quick one for finance.
Yes.
They can find me anywhere at Koki Trish, Kawkey Trish. Yeah.
Trish.
Yes.
Please make sure you reach out, because this is something that I think a lot of us need. This financial modeling, especially if you're in the tech startup space. Hectic. We hear so many stories that are, hyperbolized on social media or on the media about, this startup has shut down because of financial mismanagement, and it's becoming more and more something that is regular in African startups. Just the dynamic of the startup world. Granted,
and also
7 out of 10 times it's not
7 out of 10. In fact, when you count last year in terms of analytical, because I have data from like 2018 to 2024 right now, I can look at the ecosystem and be like, the problems I'm seeing, for example, is that there's reduced funding. There is reduced funding. Very minimal funding for women. So if you're a woman listening, just build something, build anything. Even if you need someone to spar with as an idea, you're like, can this work on an innovation basis? I help with road mapping ideas, essentially, so that you can be able to see, is it something that can give you not just sustainability, but dignity in livelihood.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it. Dignity in livelihood.
The livelihood. No, I love that. I think many people should be literally reaching out to you.
I'm the MVP of Africa.
You're the MVP of Africa. Don't play with it. Don't play. And you do have the
Yes.
experience to back it. So I'm wishing you nothing but the best as you keep
You
going
too.
in this journey.
I mean, I'm probably gonna come and be a guest again.
Yes, you're more than welcome to Tongea
I'll be your
Kando.
first repeat
Maybe I
guest.
need some of your financial modeling
Please. Yeah,
expertise.
and I'm happy to help.
As I'm in
also.
this entrepreneurship journey
So
myself.
happy to help. You know, every
Yes.
time, I think God smiles every time a woman is brave enough to love herself.
Ooh.
You know, so be brave.
Editor, that's a cut right there. Nothing more to add into that. I am Alice Kanjajo, your lovely host, and I shall see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye.